Throughout human history, across continents and cultures that never communicated with each other, nearly identical stories emerged from the darkness of ancient memory. Stories of divine wrath, rising waters, and the near extinction of humanity. What archaeologists and historians discovered in the 20th century would challenge everything believed about these tales, revealing evidence so disturbing that it suggests our ancestors witnessed something far more terrifying than myth. But first, don't miss out. Subscribe for regular doses of the unexplained. It was the winter of 1928 when British archaeologist Leonard Woolley made a discovery in the ruins of that would forever change biblical scholarship. Deep beneath the ancient Mesopotamian city, his team uncovered a layer of clean river silt nearly 8 feet thick, separating 2 distinct periods of human habitation. The implications were staggering. This was physical evidence of a catastrophic flood that had swept across the cradle of civilization itself. The excavation site lay in what is now southern Iraq, where the Euphrates River once carved its ancient path through fertile plains. Woolley's team worked methodically through the tell, the artificial hill created by centuries of human settlement. The archaeologists documented pottery shards, tools, and building foundations that told the story of a thriving Bronze Age community. Then, abruptly, the artifacts stopped. Below lay only sterile clay, deposited by rushing water with such force that it had scoured away every trace of human presence. What made Woolley's discovery particularly unsettling was the discovery of similar flood layers at other Mesopotamian sites. Tel Ferra, ancient Shuruppak, revealed an identical stratum of water-deposited sediment. Kish, once a powerful city-state, showed evidence of the same catastrophic inundation. The pattern was unmistakable. Something had transformed the entire region into a vast inland sea, drowning civilizations that had flourished for generations. The cuneiform tablets found above and below these flood layers contained fragments of stories that predated the biblical account by over 1,000 years. The Epic of Gilgamesh spoke of Utnapishtim, who survived a divine flood by building a great vessel. The Sumerian king list mentioned rulers who lived before the flood, followed by a cryptic line. After the flood had swept over and the kingship had descended from heaven, the kingship was in Kish. Archaeological evidence revealed disturbing details that the ancient texts had omitted. At multiple sites, researchers found evidence of desperate human activity in the final layers before the flood. Storage pits had been hastily dug and filled with grain. Valuable objects were buried in hidden caches, as if the inhabitants had advance warning of the coming catastrophe. Most unsettling were the skeletal remains discovered in positions suggesting the victims had been trapped while fleeing their homes. The flood myths extended far beyond Mesopotamia, appearing in cultures with no known contact with each other. The Hindu Puranas described Manu, who built a boat to survive the deluge, sent by Vishnu. Greek mythology spoke of Deucalion, who rode out Zeus's flood in a wooden chest. Norse legends told of Bergelmir, the only giant to survive the flood of Ymir's blood. Native American tribes from the Pacific Northwest to the Great Plains preserved oral traditions of world-covering waters and miraculous survivors. Dr. William Ryan and Dr. Walter Pittman of Columbia University proposed a theory in 1998 that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. Their research suggested that around 5,600 years ago, the Mediterranean Sea had burst through a natural dam at the Bosphorus, creating a catastrophic flood that filled the Black Sea basin. The evidence was compelling. Core samples from the Black Sea floor revealed a distinct layer marking the transition from freshwater to saltwater. Submerged shorelines showed evidence of human habitation, now lying hundreds of feet beneath the surface. The speed of this theoretical flood was particularly disturbing. Computer models suggested that water would have poured through the Bosphorus Strait at 200 times the flow of Niagara Falls. The Black Sea's water level would have risen 6 inches per day, forcing inhabitants to flee or perish. Entire civilizations would have vanished beneath the waves in a matter of months. Recent discoveries have added new dimensions to the mystery. Underwater archaeology in the Black Sea has revealed remarkably preserved settlements, their wooden structures maintained by the oxygen-free environment of the deep water. These ghost towns contain evidence of sophisticated Bronze Age cultures that vanished without explanation. Tools lie scattered as if dropped in haste. Storage vessels remain filled with grain that never spoiled in the anaerobic depths. The psychological impact of such an event on the survivors would have been profound. Imagine witnessing the obliteration of everything familiar, the drowning of sacred sites and ancestral burial grounds. The trauma would have been encoded in the collective memory of the scattered refugees, passed down through generations as cautionary tales of divine judgment and miraculous salvation. Modern climate science has revealed that the period around 5,600 years ago was marked by significant global climate instability. Ice core samples from Greenland show evidence of rapid temperature fluctuations. Sediment cores from various locations indicate unusual weather patterns and extreme precipitation events. The conditions were ripe for the kind of catastrophic flooding described in the ancient texts. The similarities between flood myths from different cultures extend beyond basic narrative structure to specific details that should not exist if these were independent inventions. The duration of the flood is remarkably consistent across traditions. The sending of birds to search for dry land appears in accounts from Mesopotamia to the Americas. The rainbow as a sign of divine covenant appears in multiple unrelated mythologies. Perhaps most disturbing is the consistency in the moral framework surrounding these flood narratives. In culture after culture, the flood is described as divine punishment for human corruption, with only the righteous spared to rebuild civilization. This suggests that the original event was interpreted not as a natural disaster, but as a supernatural intervention, a cosmic reset of human history. The biblical account of Noah's Ark contains technical details that have puzzled scholars for centuries. The dimensions given in Genesis describe a vessel of enormous size, approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. These proportions match almost exactly the optimal ratios for stability in rough seas, knowledge that Bronze Age peoples should not have possessed. Recent archaeological discoveries have uncovered evidence of advanced shipbuilding techniques in the ancient world that far exceeded previous estimates of Bronze Age capabilities. The Uluburun shipwreck off the Turkish coast revealed a sophisticated trading vessel from the 14th century BC carrying cargo from across the known world. If such ships were possible, the construction of a survival vessel like the Ark becomes less fantastical. The distribution of animal species across the globe has long puzzled biologists, particularly the presence of similar species on continents separated by vast oceans. While modern science explains this through continental drift, and ancient peoples would have interpreted such distribution patterns as evidence of common origin points, supporting the narrative of animals dispersing from a single location after the flood. Genetic studies of human populations have revealed evidence of significant bottlenecks in human history, periods when the total population dropped dramatically before recovering. While scientists attribute these bottlenecks to various factors, including volcanic eruptions and climate change, the timing of some coincides remarkably with the period when the Great Flood events are believed to have occurred. The flood myths contain another disturbing element that appears across cultures, the suggestion that the catastrophe was not entirely natural. Many traditions speak of the flood as punishment for specific human transgressions, often involving forbidden knowledge or inappropriate contact with divine beings. The Book of Enoch, though not included in the biblical canon, describes the flood as response to the corruption caused by fallen angels teaching humanity dangerous secrets. Investigation into the geological record has revealed evidence of multiple catastrophic flood events throughout human history. The Zanclean flood that filled the Mediterranean basin 5 million years ago left massive geological scars. The Missoula floods that carved the Columbia River Gorge created landscapes that still bear the marks of unimaginable water volumes. These events demonstrate that catastrophic flooding on a civilization-ending scale is not only possible but inevitable. The preservation of flood myths across cultures that lost most other elements of their ancient traditions suggests that these stories held special significance for the survivors. Unlike other mythological elements that evolved and changed over time, the flood narratives maintain their essential structure across millennia, as if the original trauma was so profound that it resisted modification. What do you think could explain the remarkable consistency of these flood myths across isolated cultures? The evidence suggests our ancestors witnessed something that fundamentally changed their understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos. Subscribe to explore more mysteries that challenge our understanding of ancient history.